Welcome back to Seahawk Central News, your source for the latest in local news and entertainment. I'm Anna Phillips.
And I'm Trevor Bray. This week brings a special report on the redevelopment of the Creekwood community, as well as an interview with author Diana Henriquez.
We'll also catch up with reporter Hannah Brewer and Talk on the Walk and host Jessica Ferrer with this week's local and international political events.
Remember to check us out on Facebook and at tealtv.org. Seahawk Central News airs every Monday through Thursday on both TLN and the Seahawk channel.
Don't forget to check out Trey Owings and Seahawk Central Sports on the half hour.
Stay tuned because Seahawk Central News starts right now.
While the Statue of Liberty is set to reopen by the 4th of July, Ellis Island still has no projected date to welcome back visitors. The National Park Service has said the damage from Superstorm Sandy last fall will cost nearly $59 million for Liberty and Ellis Island. Luckily, few historical artifacts from the museum were actually destroyed. Rather, flooding in the basement of the immigration building has caused problems with the mechanical systems and fire suppression system. The National Park Service says they are working diligently towards a reopening.
Colonel Eileen Collins, the first female shuttle pilot, launched yet again, but this time at our very own campus. Collins launched a lecture Monday, March 25th, addressed to students, faculty, and staff regarding leadership lessons learned from Apollo 2 Discovery. Collins has spent 872 hours of her life in space, which equals out to nearly 36 days. Her lecture touched on personal stories from her time aboard space shuttles and the learning moments that translate into everyday life.
I thought it was wonderful and an inspiration. I learned that a piece of foam is very dangerous, and I didn't know that it was that dangerous, and that being an astronaut is really cool. And if I couldn't be an astronaut, I'd probably be a scientist. At my school, I am the leader of 3rd grade in my classroom, and I'm also a big leader in my school and at my after school in my church and in a lot of places. So it gave me some inspiration in how I make a lot of mistakes, because with my emotions, I make a lot of mistakes with those, and I need to put that away from my life.
I've had a lifelong love of space and all things human space flight and astronomy. So I've just always loved space. I've always been enthused by it. I think it's the greatest human adventure that we've ever been on, and I'd like to see it continue for some time. NASA is one of the only government organizations where when money is put into it, it returns back to us, and I think that the figure is it's about 7-fold. So not only is the exploration of space just awesome to think about, but it's actually something that can be an economic driver for us. Our technology advanced so much with Apollo, and it advanced so much with Shuttle. To continue to fund the space program is a way for our country to stay on top, is a way for our country to be a technological leader, and you know, it's a way into the future.
A highly accredited investigative reporter was on the UNCW campus last week. Diana Henriquez gave a lecture on March 20th about the death of trust. Henriquez wrote a book after the Enron scandals in 2008 about operator Bernie Madoff, who is currently serving his 150-year sentence for fraud. Henriquez is a writer for the New York Times and was a speaker during Business Week at UNCW as well. Our own Janae Randall got the chance to sit down with her. Janae?
Diana, tonight in your lecture, you will discuss the idea of the death of trust. Can you elaborate on what this means and how that trust can possibly be rebuilt, if so?
Yes, certainly Ponzi schemes by their nature abuse our basic human trust. No one can lure you into a Ponzi scheme unless you trust them. No shifty-eyed stranger is going to ever get you to invest in a Ponzi scheme. So people need to understand that trust can lead them astray. Yes, they need to have trust, but they also need to have some non-waivable, smart rules about investing that they do not cast aside the minute they meet some charming wizard like Bernie Madoff.
Now, in terms of suspicion,
Yes.
why are so many people afraid of the term regulation? Why is regulation so scary?
You know, I'm baffled by that. I've been covering business news for a quarter of a century or more, and the problems that I have covered in the field of white-collar crime and corporate governance and defrauded investors do not arise from a lack of regulation. One of the reasons the U.S. market has always been in the forefront of global investment is because it has always, since 1933, been seen as the best regulated market on earth. So I am immediately suspicious of the notion that regulation is somehow an enemy of economic growth, that it's somehow an enemy of a strong marketplace. So if there's anything I think students coming out into the world need to understand, it is that smart regulation can be the faithful sidekick of capital growth, of strong economic growth, and to be suspicious when people tell them that markets will regulate themselves.
Now, for students and even for investors, what additional advice can you give?
Well, for students, I think it's extremely important that they stay within their circle of risk. That's probably a good universal rule. Understand what your risk tolerance is. Unless you've got enough money to lose, the money that you would spend at the casino or blow on a dice game or a poker game with your buddies, if it's money you can lose, then fine. If you don't have money to burn, you keep it in a safe place that's well regulated, that you understand, and then you can sleep at night. If you don't understand it, don't invest in it.
Careful with who you trust.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Diane Henriquez,
You're
for
very
speaking
welcome.
with us.
Thank you.
A professor from UNCW's Cameron School of Business has just been announced as a recipient of a prestigious teaching award. Dr. Peter Schumann, a professor in the Department of Economics and Finance, is one of 17 faculty members chosen to receive the 19th Annual Award for Excellence in Teaching. Candidates for the award must be nominated by special committees on their home campuses and are then selected by the UNC Board of Governors Committee on Personnel and Tenure. Winners are provided with a commemorative bronze medallion and over $7,000 in a cash prize.
As many of you know, the shooting in the small town of Newtown, Connecticut has had a big impact. Now that impact has made way to the Wilmington area. The Wilmington NRA meeting that took place on Saturday, March 23rd drew a crowd of protesters. The Star News reported that about 20 veterans, retired school teachers, and former NRA members came to the meeting to wave signs and share stories. One Wilmington resident protester said her son lives a mile away from Sandy Hook Elementary School and that he drove right by the school during the shooting. Though everyone had a different experience with firearms, their messages were all the same: ban assault weapons and high-capacity clips.
As of Monday, it looks like the Republic of Cyprus will be all right. The European Union approved a new bailout deal on March 25th for the small island country's financial system. Cyprus's two largest banks, the Bank of Cyprus and the Popular Bank of Cyprus, will see immediate effects. The Popular Bank of Cyprus will be broken up with its viable assets invested into the Bank of Cyprus. The president told CNN that this deal was in the best interest of the Cyprus people and the European Union as a whole.
Last week, LGBT students celebrated their sexuality during Spring Pride Week. The week consisted of a comedy show, a viewing of an independent film, spreading safety tips for transgendered health, and a highly anticipated drag show. Over 300 people attended Divas Live, the drag show that concluded the week's festivities. And while the week consisted of many laughs and smiles, the week was an opportunity for Pride to increase understanding and acceptance of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender individuals in the Wilmington community.
In turning our attention to political affairs, host Jessica Ferrer is here to keep you informed. Jessica?
Thank you, Anna. I'm Jessica Ferrer, bringing you the latest in political news. Each week here at Seahawk Central News brings an enormous amount of political change. This year, politicians face tough decisions in the wake of last year's election. Probably the most virulent debate yet has been the control and legal restrictions of firearms. So much so that commercials pressuring candidates for Senate in 2014 to vote for gun legislation could be coming to your TV soon. New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, a Democrat, announced that he would be spending $12 million on an ad campaign targeting senators who do not support stricter gun control laws. The announcement comes after the Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, also a Democrat, dropped the assault weapons ban from gun control legislation. In response to Bloomberg's announcement, NRA CEO Wayne LaPierre said on NBC's Meet the Press that Bloomberg can't buy America. He says that supporters of the NRA are sending in money to help stand up to Bloomberg. On the same show, the mayor said he's doing what survivors of gun control violence want their senators to do. Bloomberg also said he thinks they are going to win this. His announcement of his ad campaign came after the assault weapons ban was dropped from new gun control legislation. The Supreme Court will hear two cases this week that take us from one landmark issue to another here at Seahawk Central News. First, the court will hear a case on California's Proposition 8 that bans gay marriage. After making same-sex marriage legal in the state, California voters then passed Proposition 8, which defined marriage as between a man and a woman. The second case that the Supreme Court will hear involves a challenge to part of the Defense of Marriage Act. The Defense of Marriage Act was passed in 1996 and signed by Bill Clinton, who now opposes the bill. It prevents same-sex marriages in states where it's legal to be federally recognized. Currently, 9 states and Washington, D.C. have made same-sex marriage legal, and several others allow civil unions. The Supreme Court will have to decide if the Constitution's guarantee for equal protection allows for legal differences between straight and gay couples. A decision on both cases will be made by late June. Cuts to nonprofits and Governor Pat McCrory's 2-year proposed budget would affect attractions here in Wilmington. State funding for places like Cape Fear Museum and the Children's Museum of Wilmington would no longer be provided to the organizations. The North Carolina Biotechnology Center, a state-created nonprofit that focuses on the marine biotechnology industry, would have $10 million cut from their budget as well. Money cut from nonprofits would go towards public education and health care. McCrory's budget director, Art Pope, said in the Star News that nonprofits would be encouraged to seek more private support. While those in charge of nonprofits are upset, McCrory's budget is not a final deal just yet. House and Senate leaders are working on their own budget as well. It's election season again, SGA elections that is. This past year, SGA has secured more funding for outlets in Randall Library, purchased a new commencement stage, and secured funds to renovate Lumina Theater. Among other things, SGA President Keith Fraser, a senior, says that with a relatively new chancellor and provost, students have been able to work with administrators to create a new strategic plan for the university. He says it's an exciting time to engage in the UNCW community to help steer the vision of the university. Voting, says Fraser, allows for students to ensure there's quality leadership in student government and that their viewpoints are aligned with those elected. Polls opened on March 25th and will remain open until 5 p.m. on March 27th. That concludes our political update for this episode. As always, Seahawks, stay up to date and informed. From DC to the Dub, I'm Jessica Ferrer.
The annual Spring Spoken Word Poetry Slam is just around the corner. On April 3rd, students will battle with the weapons of prose in hopes to win a $500 cash prize. Live music will also be provided by Gennaro Frazier and local DJ Big B. The event will be held in the Computer Information Services Building Auditorium, also known as Room 1008. Students are encouraged to pre-register with the Watson School of Education.
UNCW is in the clear for SACS reaccreditation this year. Chancellor Gary Miller announced to the university's faculty and staff that the SACS visit went extremely well, and we are on track as expected. The written report should be delivered to the school sometime next month, with official reaccreditation in December. Chancellor Miller thanked the faculty and staff for all of their hard work in making this happen. The reaccreditation process takes around 2 years and involves contributions from many different people and departments. The winning lottery ticket in New Jersey, which is good for $338 million, has had students on campus talking about what they would do with almost $500 million. Reporter Hannah Brewer is out on Chancellor's Walk to hear what Seahawks would buy.
On Saturday, March 23rd, one lucky person in New Jersey was the winner of a $338 million Powerball jackpot. For this week's segment of Talk on the Walk, we're asking students what they would do if they won the lottery.
Okay, if I won the lottery, I would probably try to pull a Richard Branson and buy a private island of my own, or I would just buy a place out in Tahiti.
If I were to win the lottery, first of all, I'd probably want to travel a lot.
So if I won the lottery, I think I would probably build a skateboard ramp park in my backyard.
First, I would probably pay for my brother to go to college, and then I would donate part of it to my sorority's philanthropy.
I'd probably save it up to go traveling around the world and go to the World Cup next year.
Buy a house on Wrightsville, pretty much immediately. Yeah. Maybe a boat.
And help my family and give a lot of money to them, and I would save a lot of it, put it in savings.
I think that I would, of course, help my parents out, pay off all their loans and stuff like that, and then people that I knew in undergrad, I would, all my friends, well, my closest friends, I would pay for their school and pay off their loans and stuff like that, and I would give a lot to charity.
I'd honestly just help my parents with their log cabin that they're building over in Lake Lure. If I won the lottery, I would open up a children's adoption society along with puppies so we could save children while we're saving puppies.
From donating to charities to giving back to their families and even buying their own private island. Sounds like our students would do some really cool things if they won the lottery. This is Hannah Brewer, Seahawk Central News, TLTV.
The Wilmington Housing Authority has invested over $23 million in the redevelopment of the Creekwood community, and now the community reopens with enthusing new changes. Reporter Logan Spaller joined Commissioner Bo Dean and company for the ceremony. Logan?
Citizens gathered this past weekend in order to celebrate the reopening of Creekwood South. The project costed over $18 million, which included several new improvements and renovations, which all residents and guests are sure to enjoy.
Today we're celebrating the reopening of Creekwood. We made a nearly $16 million investment to renovate the property over the last several years. So we completely gutted all the apartments. They're brand new on the inside and out, new laundry facility, new common areas, new parks. So it's really a new day for Creekwood.
Basically, our service providers are here to sort of just encompass the community. They provide a lot of services to our families, and it's to showcase what they do and to have the residents come out and sort of see what they do. So we're excited. It's like a new beginning for this community and for the service providers and for all of us to work together as a partner.
And we're pulling in the families also. We work closely with the families in this community. We got new resident organization officers that are stepping up, they're participating, and it's just like a new beginning. It's like coming fresh.
We having a person a grand opening for the new Creekwood that just approached. So.
Has it been fun?
Yeah, it's been fun.
I mean, if you think just from an economic standpoint, to make a $16 million investment that was all spent locally, it's a huge economic impact. And when you do a renovation project of this scope and scale, not only are you providing better housing for families that we house, but we're also providing a safer community, a safer environment for those families. So the impact is quite substantial. All of our housing is a temporary stop for the families that we house, because if we can put them in a position that they're going to be employed, successful on their own, then we're doing our job. We know that not every family's in a position to be successful without assistance, so we're there for those families as well.
The renovations and improvements made at Creekwood South were designed to help its residents become more self-sustainable during these challenging economic times. Until next time, I'm Logan Spaller, reporting for Seahawk Central News, TLTV. Back to you.
The University of North Carolina Wilmington resolved its case with the family of Peyton Strickland this past week. Peyton Strickland was killed in a raid involving the UNCW police as well as the New Hanover County Sheriff Department in the December of 2006. The university acknowledged that Strickland was of no threat when he was killed, and they express their deepest sympathies. The settlement will fund two initiatives. One will be the creation of the Peyton Brooks Strickland Foundation. The other will be the donation of $100,000 towards an account that will fund the further training of UNCW police.
And that concludes this episode. Thanks again for joining us here at Seahawk Central News.
Don't forget, Seahawk Central News airs every day at 5 and 6 p.m. Stay tuned for Trey Owings and the Seahawk Central Sports on the Half Hour.
Be sure to visit our Facebook page and TLTV.org to catch all of our past episodes. Until next time, I'm Trevor Bray.
And I'm Anna Phillips saying, so long, Seahawks.